Hey, welcome back to my online adventures. I hope you guys out there have been enjoying the Fortnite experience offered out here on PlayStation 4, because I know I am. And there's a pretty good deal to actually delve into regarding pros and cons. So basically, Fortnite is this co-op sandbox survival video game that was developed by Epic Games and this other game company called People Can Fly. Both of them created the gameplay, but the Epic Games latter was the one that really took the publishing credibility. It's set in like a unique temporary Earth where it's a sudden appearance of a lot of worldwide storms that cause 98% of the world's population to disappear, and then in their place you have a lot of these zombie-like creatures that rise up in order to attack the remainder. It's kind of like between the general gaming mechanics of this and then the concept I just said, it's like a crisscross between Minecraft and Left 4 Dead, if that makes sense. Fortnite has about 4-player cooperation, general 4-player co-op on a lot of varying missions and a lot of randomly generated maps that you can use in order to collect resources. You build a lot of fortifications, or you build forts and stuff around defensive objects that are in the environment that are meant to help fight against the storm and protect the survivors, your teammates. And to construct weapons and traps in order to engage in combat with waves of these creatures that attempt to destroy the objectives, or against waves against fellow enemies in the PvP stature of the gameplay. A lot of players gain rewards through these missions to improve their hero characteristics, the team supports, and arsenal of weapons and trap schematics to be able to take on more difficult missions. Now, going deeper. Here at the main menu, as you can see, currently Fortnite provides the two distinct game modes, which is a player versus environment, or save the world, and a player versus player, the Battle Royale. The latter game mode was added after Fortnite's initial early access launch, when the game first launched. And then it was later offered as a whole separate free-to-play mode on somewhere around September or so, that doesn't require the base game to play at all, since it's just free, so you can access everything in here for free now.
You're awake! How's your head, okay? Those stairs are really meant for feet. Just a tip for moving forward.
Security system failure.
Ignore that. So, introductions. I'm Ray, and we're the commander's support crew. Or at least we would be, if we had a commander. And if this drill is any indication, we won't last a second in the storm on our own. Say that again? Not a drill? Well, that certainly explains the monsters. Fun fact, our mission was to prevent the storm from happening, so on to Plan B. Plan B. You guys got anything? Anything?
Incoming.
Come on.
Distress call. Incoming distress.
Oh, I think you just found our Plan B.
Ramirez here. I'm requesting backup.
Reed, please hold.
Do not put me on hold.
Let's cut to the chase. Have you ever considered fighting the forces of evil?
So, let's start with the PvE aspect, or the player versus environment. This is the Save the World mode. Like I said, it goes in the whole co-op, survival-based exploration outline here. You're scavenging items, crafting weapons, building structures that are going to be very highly fortified, and fighting waves of encroaching monsters. In the metagame, the player here has an inventory of weapons and trap schematics, hero characters, defender characters, and supporting characters, along with collected resources. Schematics are used to construct weapons and traps when on the field. Hero characters represent the characters from one of 4 classes that the player can utilize while on a mission or missions, as well as used to undertake resource gathering missions, making them unavailable to use until they return from said mission or missions. Defending characters can be summoned in order to help with defense, but are only there if less than 4 players are on a mission. Only if there are less than 4. Supporting characters are used to form various non-playable squads that can provide unique passive bonuses to the player's general attack strength, their point gains, and resource acquisitions that are earned through mission rewards, or from loot boxes, which are going to be represented as llama pinatas, I believe, unless a future update would change this representation, and other resources in which to level up and evolve schematics and characters further. For weapons and traps to generally boost their effectiveness, as well as unlocking what little additional attribute bonuses the player can gather. While leveling up hero characters will unlock special skills that the character has while in the field, schematics and characters are generally assigned as a rarity, which does determine or is determined by how much they can be leveled or how much they do evolve over time. A player's inventory of schematics and characters is limited, but players can opt to slot any one they don't need into a collection book in order to gain rewards when certain collection sets are completed. You can use one or more of these schematics or characters to transform them into a whole new random item, or you just simply retire them in order to gain back experience points and other resources to free up the slot space. So in a sense, it's kind of like a give and take that you can give to yourself, and then you can take it away in order to give back to yourself what it is that you put into that item or items in question. And so it does try to invoke the player into participating more in the continual receive and return grind that is the cycle of the game mode.
I can't believe it! People are still alive out there, and we can save them! This could be our thing! Where do we start? Oh. I get it. I have people I'm looking for too. Look, so what if there are storms and monsters? If we all pull together, we can bring all of them home. What do you say?
The player can also spend points by earning them in completing missions, technological points earned over time that are here to unlock new skills and technologies in the game's skill and technology trees, which all allow you to make different trees for different builds that can improve your attributes or attributes that are shared with other players while on missions. You can unlock higher levels of evolution for schematics and characters, or you can also open up new squad positions or unlock general skills that players can use in the field. Collectively speaking, the player's progress on these skill and technology trees, their squad composition, and their selected hero character make up the player's current power level, which relates to what difficulty of mission the player should take and the game's general matchmaking services, because the game will try or make the effort to give you a matchmaking session that will be on your level and not be above your level. Also, the players can review their current story progress and quests, which can include daily, side, or event quests, which can then be completed to provide more in-game currency and resources. So it becomes more of a give rather than take.
Take your time. It's only a horde of monsters. Good timing. Thanks for guiding us home, Commander.
Next up to bat here on the other side of the fence, and going deeper, is the Battle Royale feature, or the player versus player Battle Royale, which is pretty much the shining knight of Fortnite's general playable existence in our modern day gaming. The game mode follows very similar gaming mechanics as a lot of other Battle Royale games. It more specifically highlights a montage to PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds. This mode supports from 50 to 100 players in either 50 versus 50 or 100 versus 100 player mode, either individual or up to a 4-man squad, where the objective is to be the last man or team standing as they hunt other players and avoid being killed themselves. So, to break down, here's how it all originally begins, which is actually a unique pro and a con in itself. So you have a party of about 4 maximum, waiting for everybody to load in here. All you have to do is ready up, and the matchmaking will take you right into the servers for either 50 versus 50 or 100 versus 100. So say I have 3 people here right now, and so the 3 of us just load in here as it is in a team-based setting for a team-based server game mode, and we wait like so. Then here at the compound or the pseudo HUD system, however you want to look at it, we're basically just sitting here assing around, whatever you want to do using emotes like so, waiting for the bus to pick us up. And the bus just magically picks us up like so, and takes us over top of the huge sandbox-like area like you see here. What I find a very interesting pro about this that I'm going to point out right away is the facet of it not being a series of random locations that it spawns the player or players into, but rather you can selectively pick it at your own will. That can be any spot, literally any spot, throughout the totality of the map by pressing X in order to jump from the bus in order to spawn in alongside your friends or anywhere else in the map pick. From there, once you pick X and deploy, you basically, like so, glide out of the bus onto anywhere in the map within free will, as it'll be a complete free open area in which to use and to apply or exercise caution as well as general awareness for trying to find your resources early. Secondly, what I notice is a second pro to this is that the use of resources do vary with location to location, as you do have to try and be able to think reasonably about where you want to land or how you want to land, and so you also need to think in advance about territory. Some locations are better than others, and in terms of them being better than others, they're also more strategically biased or unbiased than other locations. Also, there are specific locations that also herald better points in which to camp the longer the match goes on. Point 3 that I can also take into this is the facet of communications, because what comes with territory and territorial control, depending upon how long the interval it takes for each storm to happen, that then condenses the ability to spread out your operations, as you will have to eventually all meet at one specific location as territory dwindles and your competition does dwindle, is the increasing amount of communications and environmental awareness that go into this, which I can actually be appreciative of because it forces a more unified and cooperative gameplay in order to achieve a commonly sought objective, rather than trying to do your own thing and end up getting yourself killed very quickly, thus lessening you and your team's chances of being ranked number 1 or getting to the end of it all. And amidst that train of thought, that actually takes me into my next point, point 4, which is the whole quick regroup thing. So if your whole team dies, or if you die, you don't have to sit there and enjoy or watch the whole game mode of how this all plays out. You can just go back to lobby, party lobby, rendezvous, however it is, ready up again, and then you arrive right back at center hub waiting for the bus to come by to magically pick you up and take you out into the battlefield. Which personally I find weird because they don't show you exactly how the big piece of shit actually gets in the air. It just magically gets in the air, so you don't even need a seatbelt.
No one else was already wearing a seatbelt?
Point 5 that I also want to make into this is the tier system of weapons, which I do like about this, because the tier system of weapons is very identical and similar to that of Borderlands and Destiny, where you have a plain tier, white, green tier, blue tier, and a legendary tier, which is honored this time by being purple. as opposed to the previous tier in something like Borderlands, where a legendary tier was honored by being orange or yellow. This I can appreciate, and a lot of my friends that I played with, those I know and don't know personally, also do honor this, as it does give you more of an eagle eye in paying attention both from afar and at close distance, in order to pay attention to color tiers while you're in the environment. So you come across somebody, kill them however it is, take the loot, you can just go right for the good shit right away, between the greens and the purples and the whites and however it may be, with ammo regging or other items that you will need in order to have continual sustenance aside from weapons. Next point I want to go into is environmental awareness. Resources are a must in order to continue progress, and so you always need to have a watchful eye for resources anywhere in the field, as resources can come from anything to build potentially anything. Be this wood, iron, or brick, which seem to be the main 3 tier systems in order to have anything in which to utilize for building. Also, in that regard, for building against the storm, it's the storm itself, as there is a force field above the whole sandbox-like area that will give you somewhat of an indication as to where the storm is coming from, as a countdown does go off every now and again in order to give you a heads up, hey, the storm is coming. And over time, as the storm does develop, in order to enclose the area, it will slowly develop in the sky, as you can slowly see over time as the minutes go on and the sessions go. The less time you have to work with, the more of an overcast it becomes. So one feeds into the other one if you didn't catch the timer. Incorporating those specific points that I had pointed out, those are a number of rather beneficial positives that I have noticed about the video game thus far. Now, concerning negative elements about this video game, there actually have not been that many that I have noticed, but there are still some that are noticeable. One of which I can actually understand why it was not brought to light, but was actually highly downplayed for once. And in point 7, this is regarding the active visible presentation of microtransactions. I don't have to go into a heck of a lot of detail as to what microtransactions are, as there have been other video games such as Skyrim or Overwatch or Destiny now that does insinuate about microtransactions and focusing or having a subtle or blunt focal point of purchasing in-game money in order to use them towards upgrades or specific endeavors in the video game. This is no exception, as through the supported systems of Microsoft Windows and Mac OS, there is a highly strong focus of microtransactions in this video game that also, as a unique counterbalance, is very highly downplayed on console. Or if it is not downplayed, I have yet to see the YouTube channel or the video regarding Fortnite's general content or social media concerning this issue. All of the game's more appropriate or more agreeable upgrades or items in which to utilize are all mainly bought and not earned. And so, at some point or another, it may insinuate to actually pay for the game or put money into the video game, which, in a sense, I believe is counterproductive, because it turns the focus point off of why you originally got the video game in the first place, because this is a free-to-play video game at the moment. This is a free-to-play video game, and so, while it is free to play, the fact of having things in the video game to pay for or to put money into a free video game in order to enjoy it does seem rather unnecessary. On the contrary of this explanation, many of the players and YouTubers that I've seen online doing YouTube for this video game have not made any focus about the microtransactions, and it has not been a focus of conversation, even though it is bluntly here. And while the whole object in question of microtransactions is counterproductive, the fact of this not being a focus for the gameplay or for why people are enjoying the video game is very good, because it means that the point of fun in the video game supersedes the whole point of any type of financial benefit from the video game. Now, the PC version of Fortnite might be different. I don't know. I have not had a chance to play it, but I've only had a chance to study it from what I could see online on YouTube channels. And so if microtransaction plays a stronger role on the PC adaptation of the video game content, then that's one argument. But the concept of it having any type of financial benefit or financial stock on the console versions seems to be an entirely different argument. And so for console version anyway, while you don't seek to put any type of financial stock into the video game, you can actually go ahead and just put general gaming stock into the video game. And it still has a different type of beneficial revenue that comes back to the player, rather than anything that you would have had to pay for. And so while this whole point that I'm stating here is a very, very big flaw, in some sense, the point of it being ignored, and the point being ignored as to the point in microtransactions being here, the fact that it's being ignored in order to turn the focus of gameplay on the gameplay itself and not any of the additions or little perks or knickknacks that come in the video game is a good thing. And so it's a necessary flaw that leads to, in a deeper sense, a positive thing, if that makes any sense. And lastly, my final point about the video game, which is also a negative, is that every so often when this video game has an update, an unusual glitch is also discovered with each new update. Be it a very subtle glitch, or in the early stages of the video gameplay, a couple of rather noticeable glitches. Over time, as the patches do come and go, a lot of the glitches really aren't that big of a deal, but rather become an unusual, negatively founded, positive benefit for the player's general survival or survival-based tactics in the game session in question. For instance, it was brought to my attention at one point with following the last update that had happened earlier a couple of months ago, that after the Chug Glug update, there was a new glitch where what happens is when you go to stairs, when you go up a flight of stairs sometimes, it builds the floor instead of being in the building menu in order to instigate the building. Or when you're trying to create stairs, when you go to click the button, even if you don't have resources, it just randomly clicks and it glitches out right in front of you, and suddenly you're walking on the floor as if it was there, when in actuality it is not there. And so you're walking upon a glitch as it is. Little things like that that are oddly beneficial, but it is still a small point in order to bring up, as patchwork will still happen here or there in order to patch past glitches most likely, but in the process of patching old ones, new ones I'm sure will probably still arise here or there depending upon how observant people may be. And so, all things considered, and all the pros and the cons about the Fortnite video game taken into consideration, I do honestly say that this is a very, very well done video game. I do wish to propose that other people do play it if you can, if you are interested in it, or even if you want to just try it out as a passing, leisurely interest. I do wish to encourage the motivation to do so. A game like this, I would say, is honestly moderately well balanced, with continual updates that do try to tweak little bugs that happen here or there. A game that seems to be this well done usually is not free for very long. And so the fact that this is like this and it is still free is nothing short of a miracle, because there have been past video games that do give a pretty good deal of options to work with, both by yourself in a single player aspect and in a multiplayer aspect without being too heavy on either or. And that's where popularity or a balance drops. And so pick this up while it is free, because if this game does pick up any good steam, it will not be free for much longer, and then the full microtransactions argument will be in effect for this video game. This does tidy it all up into one basket of a documentation. Thanks for tuning in for it all. Stay tuned and keep building. your way to rank #1 online on Fortnite. Take care.